You know what VR really needs in 2025? Another game where you play as a janky gorilla hopping around a forest. Nothing screams next-gen immersion like a broken knockoff of a 3-year-old indie game. Gorilla Tag was an indie success story. One guy made something creative, intuitive, and community-driven. Unfortunately, now it's been copied, cloned, and stripped for parts. Today, we're going to be diving deep into the rise of these shameless knockoffs, how they're actively hurting the reputation and growth of VR, and what it says about where VR is headed if it continues. Now, let's unpack how Gorilla Tag's success became a blueprint not for creativity, but for lazy cash grabs. Before we talk knockoffs, we have to talk about why Gorilla Tag blew up in the first place. Created by just one developer, Gorilla Tag dropped in early 2021. It was raw. No guns, no inventory, no complicated UI, just you, your arms, and physics. Players got hooked by the sheer satisfaction of climbing, leaping, and flinging themselves around. Gorilla Tag was free, there was no paywall. This made it instantly accessible to everyone on the MetaQuest store. Gorilla Tag wasn't just a sweaty game where you jump around as a monkey. It could also be considered a social game. But instead of admiring jiggle physics like other games, you would just jump around and scream at people, which, arguably, is just as fun. Gorilla Tag had a viral factor. The movement was so fun and original that TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Twitch exploded with Gorilla Tag clips. The moment Gorilla Tag got traction, it was open season, and instead of innovation, the industry responded with a tidal wave of clones. Here are some examples. Capuchin VR. Capuchin VR started as a promising alternative, added new maps, cosmetics, and ideas. But the devs couldn't keep up, with cheaters and hackers basically setting the place on fire. By mid-2023, the game was unplayable. Penguin Paradise. Same exact concept as Gorilla Tag and Capuchin VR, except you're a penguin. That's it, you slide around icy levels instead of a forest. But then, within months, they added vehicles and pay-to-win items. This, on top of a bad moderating system, could only lead to disaster. And disaster struck. Recent reviews about the game have been negative to say the least. Here are some examples. Dark Sonic 2019 said that he was getting reported for no reason. I'm not sure why people would report him with such a cool name like that. Also, was this guy born in 2019, or does he just like that year? Let me know in the comments. Then there's this review, written by Freddie James. I had trouble reading this at first, I don't know, I think the wording threw me off. I think this guy's upset that he was getting bullied for not having jetpacks or a mech. And he wants ice cubes, I think? I don't really know, you can read this though, if you want. Smash like though and I'll give Freddie James some ice cubes. Taking a break from just talking about bad reviews, I wanted to try to find the worst Gorilla Tag clone that I could. So, reasonably, where I always go to find horrible games, I went to Itch. Here's the footage for that, and I'm sorry for the mic quality. Alright, I think I found the one called Mischievous Monkey. This looks promising. It has a 1-star rating with 1 review. I really think this might give me a virus or something, but I gotta risk it for the biscuit. Alright, I'm opening the APK. Notepad is not responding. Why did it open Notepad? I should not have downloaded something from this guy. He has his YouTube channel linked. Let's check this out. Okay. Alright, maybe I should give this guy a couple 21,000 views. Come on. Is this Roblox? I think he's in Roblox Studio. Wow. Look at this guy's models. You know what? All respect. Not bullying this guy. Love this guy. Great content. Let's go ahead and let's get back to the video because this is kinda I don't know. Alright, look, I'm sure all you guys are familiar with this guy right here. You know what? He kinda looks like one of my friends, who's also slightly overweight and has a neckbeard. Anyway, the reason I bring up Leo is because he promoted one of the biggest Gorilla Tag knockoffs, in my opinion. Look, I'm not throwing hate towards the game, I'm sure it's one of the better VR games out there. However, I still need to criticize the fact that it steals Gorilla Tag's movement. The biggest part of it all is the channel that was behind promoting it. Leo has 288,000 followers, and he helped make and promote the Monkey Do game. And because of the popularity that Monkey Do saw, it inspired other creators to make more knockoffs worse and worse than the last. You may be asking yourself, why is this a problem? I mean, 90% of these knockoffs are free, and while that's true, I worry that if it continues, developers will realize it's okay to make low-effort knockoff games. I want you to really think about that. I mean, if I open the MetaQuest store on my phone, it's instantly filled with low-effort games. I said this in my previous video. If you haven't watched that, I highly recommend it. I said that we need to raise the standards of these VR games and their companies, or else eventually the only VR game options will be low-poly games where you jump around. As Mark Zuckerberg once said, let's make VR great again. I know this video is about Gorilla Tag clones, but it's important to know that this isn't only a problem in the Gorilla Tag community. I mean, even big AAA VR companies make games that just aren't good and feel rushed. Take a second and think about the Hitman VR game that came out on the MetaQuest store not too long ago. The game looked and played horrendously, and much like these Gorilla Tag clones, the game felt like a money grab. The difference is Hitman VR was riding off the back of the Hitman trilogy, and these Gorilla Tag clones ride off the back of Gorilla Tag. And that just isn't fair to the developer of Gorilla Tag and the community. I mean, think about putting years of work into a game to have other people rip it off and maybe take some of your audience. I found some statements that are supposedly from Leeming himself, who's the creator of Gorilla Tag if you didn't know. All these statements were supposedly posted on the Finger Painter Discord server. I don't know how true this is, but I got this information from the Chivi YouTube channel. Leeming's statement says, I always find it very humbling when I see people making fan stuff for Gorilla Tag. When I first started working on it, I was just happy to see people playing and having fun. I never imagined it'd get to the point where it's inspiring people to make their own stuff. He also continued to say, however, there are a lot of things out there that are just plain stealing. Either the assets themselves or the code that's used in the game. I made the Locomotion open source in hopes that it would inspire people to use it to build, but maybe put a new spin on the idea or try making something totally new. But instead, people are taking the entire code base and pointing it into different servers. We don't like doing it, but when people cross the line, we have to take legal steps and it always sucks. Again, this is all supposed information that the Chivi YouTube channel posted. He seems like he's fairly well known in the Gorilla Tag community though, so if this is true, this is huge. Who knows, maybe if enough legal action is taken, people might stop making these clones and realize that they can't do it anymore. I know, crazy right? People might have to start being creative and original. That being said, I hope Meta will make a change of some sorts to keep as many clones as possible off of their store. But more importantly, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, as these take a while to edit, so it really would mean a lot if you guys could consider subscribing. Also, please feel free to let me know what content you want to see. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, let's make VR great again. If you don't do it for me, do it for Mark Zuckerberg.